Hey, welcome back to another episode of Ecommerce On Tap, brought to you by Sourcify. My name is Nathan Resnick, your host, and today we're joined by Tobi from Everboost. Tobi, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nathan. Really excited to record this.
So I'm on your website right now. You focus on retention for health and wellness brands. Retention is top of mind for pretty much everyone I know in e-commerce because CPAs have gone up quite a bit since COVID. I'm curious, give us a lay of the land, what you're seeing right now when it comes to retention. How are you optimizing retention for some of the brands you work with? Let's start there and maybe dive into some more data-driven metrics that you're seeing.
Yeah, cool. So I think, like you said, obviously with CPAs rising and overall costs of ads increasing, brands are really turning to retention. And whilst the old ways of email marketing they used to work, now it has changed massively. It's not just a case of batch blast sending and everyone gets the same sort of messaging. So really now, I think the big thing that brands need to focus on and are starting to is zero-party data. So this is sort of information about that customer that's unique to them that they willingly give to you. So it could be their pain points, their motivators, challenges, things along those lines, and really using this information in your messaging to make it targeted to that person, as opposed to, like I said, this general messaging. Because retention, obviously, as a brand scales, is far more important than just pumping money into ads all the time. So really, that is the main way that retention marketing is going. It is focusing on getting as much data around each individual as you can and really leveraging it in all your campaigns.
So let's dive into that. How do you go about getting as much data as possible, right? Are we talking about kind of data tools like a triple whale where you're kind of trying to understand your pixel and metrics, or is it more so around, hey, what is the demographic of this site visitor? Where are they located? What is their age group? What kind of data are we actually trying to decipher and get? And then I guess the follow-up question to that is, how do we best organize and categorize that information to make it most relevant to retention?
Yeah, of course. So the things like the demographics and what have you, that's more like the first party data. People don't, necessarily, you can find this out with the tracking pixels. The zero party data, I think the biggest place to start is your email collection pop-up or your SMS collection pop-up. So rather than just having, say, first name, email address, give us those and we'll give you the discount. Something we like to do is just email address, and then you can test, 1, 2, 3 questions, see how it affects the conversion rates. And like I said, these can be questions around, who are you buying for? What is the reason you're buying? And like I said, pain points, challenges, motivators, because really, when the message resonates and is targeted to them, that's what's going to make them make the purchase, not a 15% discount or 10% discount that every brand is offers nowadays.
Makes sense. And then when it comes to actually, using this data to convert a customer or extend LTV, how do you go about doing that? Do you kind of create more of a customized email flow to follow up with them of saying, hey, I saw you, are a lifter and you want to have a powerlifting supplement, and, this is what you should be taking because these other powerlifters are taking this supplement. I mean, do you kind of create then a more customized flow for them after you have that zero party data, or how does that kind of actually go about? What are the kind of dynamics behind that?
Yeah, exactly that. So whether it's, products unique to their challenges, their goals, or reviews that, actually highlight these things. So someone could say, I started here before I used the product, and now I'm here, and really take them, future pace them, what they can expect to see. So those are the two big ones really. And within the flows, you can use, without getting too technical, like show hide logic and various different conditional splits, to really send messages that are tailored to that person. So that's really where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck for the zero party data, is actually slightly tweaking that messaging to really involve that data.
And are you just saving this zero party data like in your kind of email or SMS provider, like a PostScript or Klaviyo or whatever it may be? Or is this kind of saved within your own internal database and then linked back into whatever provider you're using?
Yeah, so it's all saved within Klaviyo. It's just a case of creating these custom profile properties and then assigning the values to them. And then you can create various segments within the ASP to obviously have these different audiences that send the necessary emails.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I know it's coming up. This will probably be released a little bit after that, but just curious, what's the pulse that you're seeing with the brands that you work with? How are they approaching Black Friday, maybe in a different way than last year, the years prior when, people were really buying a lot online during COVID? What's kind of strategy going into Black Friday this year?
Yeah, so surprisingly, a lot of brands are quite hesitant to hold anything at all. I don't know whether that's because their profits are slimmer, so they want to avoid that. But I think for the large part, it is mostly the same, with site-wide discounts, and then having these exclusive discounts for email subscribers or SMS subscribers. And something that we like to say with any Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or any big holiday sale that you run is always have one or two emails before the actual sale saying, look, we're going to be running the sale. Just click here to opt out if you don't want to get them, because the worst thing that can happen is you blast them with emails and they end up unsubscribing, as opposed to just not getting these specific emails.
Yeah, I mean, talking about kind of blasting his emails, what is the optimal number of emails someone should be sending during a sale like this, right? Are we talking about, 4 a day? Are we talking about, 3 over the weekend? I mean, kind of what do you see in terms of actually, number of emails that or SMS messages that should be sent to be an optimal number? I mean, walk us through maybe a optimal flow that you've seen.
Yeah, so firstly, before you even hit that holiday, weekend or whatever it is, especially with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I'd say send a week before. Get ahead of the curve, because you just know their inboxes are going to be flooded with emails from every other brand. So give them that time beforehand to really scoop up these offers and make sure that you get the most out of your audience. And then when it actually comes to this holiday sale, it massively depends on what your audience is. If it's an older audience, they're probably going to get a little bit annoyed with sending loads and loads of emails per day. But if it's a younger audience, they're used to getting this frequent communication from you. You can get away with sending more emails per day. So it does depend on your strategy prior, leading into Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We personally like to send multiple per day, especially on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because like I said, it is a case of so many brands competing with each other. So the more that you can send, the better, because chances are they're not going to see the first 1 or 2 emails, or they might miss the second or third. So I wouldn't say there's an optimal strategy. It is dependent on you and your audience.
Mm-hmm.
But I would lean more into at least 2 per day from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Makes sense. Let's talk about a little bit after the holidays, right? Because typically there's a little bit or a big lull in Q1 for these brands. Let's say, I'm a brand that all of a sudden is acquired, 25% of my customers are new during the holidays, right? So now I'm in Q1 or Q2, these people have purchased from me once, they haven't purchased from me again. What kind of strategies would you implement in Q1 or Q2 to try to get someone to come back and make a repurchase? I guess in health and wellness, it's mostly kind of, I would assume, subscription oriented products. But I guess how would you get someone to continue to be a subscriber?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people over these holiday periods are just purely there for the discounts, and you do have to expect some natural churn from that. And maybe they don't unsubscribe from emails; they stick around. So the next Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you can hit them again with another sale. But if you do want to try and keep on the majority of them, something that if is viable for your brand with profit margins, etc., is to actually extend, or not extend, but offer another discount of similar value to the original one. Now you've got them on that second purchase. Now they're invested in your brand, so it's much easier to get them third purchase without these various incentives. So I'd say that is a big one. Really, is offer some kind of follow-up incentive to get them on that second purchase.
Makes sense. Are most of the brands you work with more subscription oriented? And if they're not, how have you seen brands navigate and get their customers to become subscribers? Like if they buy something one off and they have a potential subscription product, how have you seen brands, really push customers to become subscribers?
Yeah, so most that we work with do have some kind of subscription offering. There is one longevity-based brand that is basically their entire business model. It's various blood tests and personalized dashboards that all sort of fits into each other. So their tactic is offer a big initial discount up front on this personalized pack or subscription offer. So obviously most brands have some kind of incentive, whether it's 10% when you subscribe, but this brand is 30%. So it's much lower commitment up front. And then that second purchase is, it sort of balances itself out if you were to offer that smaller discount up front. And then in terms of trying to get people from, just these orders that they place themselves onto the subscription, it is a case of, just promoting these in your emails where you can, and actually in your post-purchase sequences, again, really highlighting the benefits of getting on these programs, as opposed to just saying, oh, check out our subscribe and save, future pace it, potentially showing how much money they could save, and things like that.
Makes sense. What about on the AOV front? What do you do, or what have you seen done successfully to increase AOV, right? Because I assume LTV, you're not just referring to extending the lifetime of a subscriber, but also potentially, increasing average order value.
Yeah, totally. So an app that we love is Aftersell. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it's these post-purchase upsells, in-cart upsells, the thank you pages, and you can create various different funnels based on specific products. That's something that we try and implement for most clients. Obviously, some they might be on other apps, or they don't want to try it out. And if you can bump up that first order average value as much as you can, it makes those ads potentially you're profitable, but you might even just break even. And really for those future purchases as well, it ties in. So that's what we do mostly.
That's awesome. Can you give us a maybe specific example of how you've helped a brand increase AOV? Like maybe before they were working with Everboost, they didn't have that after sell, and then you implemented after sell, and all of a sudden, their AOV is up by 30% or something. I think it's just interesting because a lot of people hear about bundling, right? But they don't necessarily know how to put together a strong offer in a strong bundle, right? How do you get someone to go from just purchasing one product to 3 or 5 or whatever it may be? So I'm curious how you've navigated with that when a brand comes to you.
Yeah. So talking of bundling, another app that some brands like to use it is Kaching Bundles, which is great. It's plug and play, and it really highlights what you're saving when you buy 2, 3, whatever it is, because any sort of maths that a customer has to do is just additional friction, and they're not going to place a purchase. And in terms of implementing after-sale and the results that we've got, I can't think of the exact numbers off the top of my head, but there was a brand with quite a low average order value, around £25. And I think we got out to about 35, which obviously, again, it's still not huge, but that £10 on every first order especially makes a huge difference in the long term.
Totally. I mean, that's still like 15-20% increase, which is substantial over a long time, like you're saying. Well, Tobi, thank you so much for coming on Ecommerce on Tap. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about Everboost, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I think the best place is LinkedIn, really. It's Tobi Chapman, spelt with an I, because my parents named me weirdly.
I like it. So it's Tobi Chapman on LinkedIn. I'm sure if people search Tobi Everboost, they'll be able to find you too. But Tobi, thank you again for coming on Ecommerce on Tap, brought to you by Sourcify. And thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode.
Cheers, Nathan.